Hello everyone, and welcome back to our channel. Today, we're diving into a story that proves kindness can be found in the most unexpected places. A tale of a billionaire and the humble maid who unknowingly taught him a valuable lesson. It all started on a crisp autumn morning in the sprawling mansion of Mr. Harrison, a man whose name was synonymous with wealth and power. His life was a whirlwind of board meetings and high-stakes deals, leaving little room for anything else. His maid, Clara, was a quiet, diligent woman who moved through the grand halls like a ghost, always ensuring everything was pristine. For years, she had been a constant, silent presence in his life, someone he barely noticed beyond her duties. One morning, as Mr. Harrison was rushing out, he overheard a hushed, trembling voice from the kitchen. It was Clara on the phone. Her words were strained, filled with a desperation he had never heard before. "I don't know what to do," she whispered, her voice cracking. "The doctors say he needs the surgery immediately. How can I possibly find that much money?" A heavy silence followed, then a soft, defeated sob. Mr. Harrison paused, his hand on the doorknob. He had never considered Clara's life outside the mansion walls. To him, she was simply the maid. But in that moment, she was a mother, terrified for her child. Curiosity, mixed with an unfamiliar pang of empathy, stopped him from leaving. He decided to wait. Later that day, feigning a forgotten document, he returned home earlier than usual. He found Clara in the library, dusting the shelves, her eyes red and swollen. He approached her cautiously. "Clara," he began, his voice softer than he intended. "Is everything all right? I couldn't help but overhear your conversation this morning." Clara flinched, startled, and shame washed over her face. She started to apologize, but he held up a hand. "You don't need to apologize. Please, tell me what's wrong." Hesitantly, she recounted the story of her young son, Leo, who had a rare heart condition and needed an urgent, expensive operation to survive. The cost was astronomical, a sum she could never hope to earn in a lifetime. As he listened, Mr. Harrison saw not just his employee, but a fellow human being in immense pain. He thought of his own children, safe and healthy, and the immense resources he had at his disposal. That evening, he made a phone call to the city's top cardiac surgeon. The next morning, a sleek black car arrived at Clara's modest home. A chauffeur informed her that all arrangements for Leo's surgery had been made and paid for in full. An anonymous benefactor, he explained, had taken care of everything. Clara was stunned, overwhelmed with a wave of disbelief and gratitude. The surgery was a success, and Leo made a full recovery. Clara returned to work at the mansion, her heart overflowing with thankfulness for the mysterious angel who had saved her son. She never knew it was Mr. Harrison. He never told her. He simply watched as the light returned to her eyes and a genuine smile once again graced her lips as she worked. For Mr. Harrison, this act of quiet generosity changed something profound within him. He realized that true wealth wasn't measured by stock portfolios or bank balances, but by the ability to make a difference in someone's life. He started a charitable foundation dedicated to providing medical care for children from low-income families, a foundation that would go on to save thousands of lives. And it all began with a single, overheard phone call and the simple, human decision to listen and to care. This story reminds us that compassion is a currency more valuable than any other. Thank you for watching. Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving into a topic that so many of us struggle with: how to actually get things done, even when we have zero motivation. You know that feeling, right? Your to-do list is a mile long, but you're just stuck on the couch, endlessly scrolling. It feels impossible to start. But what if I told you the secret isn't about finding some magical burst of motivation? It's about building a system that works even when you're not feeling it. First up, let's talk about the 2-minute rule. It's so simple, it almost sounds silly, but trust me, it's a game changer. Whatever task you're dreading, just commit to doing it for 2 minutes. That's it. Want to clean the kitchen? Just wash one dish or wipe down one counter for 2 minutes. Need to work out? Just put on your workout clothes and do a few stretches. The magic here is that starting is the hardest part. Once you've begun, inertia often takes over, and you'll find yourself wanting to do a little more. You trick your brain into getting over that initial hurdle, and suddenly, you're in motion. Next, let's tackle the power of environment design. Our surroundings have a huge impact on our behavior, way more than we realize. If you want to read more, don't hide your book in a drawer. Leave it on your pillow or your coffee table. You want to stop snacking on junk food? Don't keep it in the house. Or at least put it on a high shelf, out of sight. Make your desired habits incredibly easy to do, and your bad habits incredibly difficult. You're essentially creating a path of least resistance that leads directly to your goals. You're not relying on willpower. You're letting your environment do the heavy lifting for you. Another powerful technique is habit stacking. This is where you link a new habit you want to build with an existing one you already do automatically. For example, after I brush my teeth every morning, I will meditate for 1 minute. Or, after I pour my morning coffee, I will write down one thing I'm grateful for. The established habit acts as a trigger for the new one. This takes the guesswork out of when you re-going to do your new habit and weaves it seamlessly into your daily routine. Before you know it, the new habit becomes just as automatic as the old one. It's like creating a chain reaction of positive actions. Now, what about those huge, overwhelming projects that feel impossible? The key is to break them down into ridiculously small, manageable steps. Writing a book sounds terrifying, but writing 100 words a day? That's doable. Running a marathon seems out of reach, but going for a 10-minute walk? Easy. When you break a big goal down, you get a clear roadmap of tiny, achievable actions. Each time you check off one of those small steps, you get a little hit of dopamine, a sense of accomplishment that fuels you to take the next step and the next. This momentum builds on itself, and suddenly, that impossible project doesn't seem so impossible anymore. So, to recap, start with just 2 minutes. Design your environment for success. Stack your habits and break big goals into tiny pieces. Motivation is fickle. It comes and goes. But a solid system, a reliable routine, that's what creates real, lasting change. It's about taking small, consistent actions day after day. That's where the magic truly happens. In the gilded cage of his sprawling mansion, Ethan, a man whose name was synonymous with ruthless success, found himself staring into a storm. Not the one raging outside, but the one reflected in the terrified eyes of a young woman huddled by his gates. Her name was Lila, and she was soaked, shivering and clutching a worn-out bag as if it were her last connection to the world. Every instinct, honed by years of corporate takeovers and cold-hearted decisions, told him to ignore her, to let the security handle it. But something in her gaze, a flicker of defiance mixed with despair, stopped him. Against his better judgment, he brought her inside. The staff was scandalized. His butler, a man who had served his family for generations, looked at him as if he'd lost his mind. But for the first time in a long time, Ethan felt something other than the cold calculus of profit and loss. He felt responsible. He gave Lila a warm room, new clothes, and a hot meal. He expected gratitude, maybe even subservience. What he got was quiet dignity. Lila wasn't looking for a handout. She was looking for a foothold. Days turned into weeks. Lila, once a ghost haunting the mansion's corridors, slowly began to fill them with life. She had a knack for gardening, and soon the long-neglected conservatory bloomed with color. She spoke to the staff not as a guest, but as a peer, sharing stories and laughter in the kitchen. Ethan watched this transformation from a distance, puzzled. He had offered her shelter, but she was the one breathing life back into his sterile home. He found himself seeking her out, not to check on her, but to hear her thoughts on a book, or to watch the sunset from the garden she had revived. One evening, his business rival, a man just as cold and calculating as Ethan used to be, came to visit. He saw Lila arranging flowers and sneered. "Found yourself a new charity case, Ethan. Power isn't about collecting strays." Ethan looked at the vibrant room filled with the scent of fresh blossoms, and then at his rival's empty eyes. He finally understood. "You're wrong," Ethan replied, his voice calm but firm. "Power isn't about what you can take. It's about what you can build. It's about protecting those who need it and nurturing the potential you see in them." That night, Ethan realized his home was no longer just a display of wealth. It had become a sanctuary, not just for Lila, but for him too. In helping her, he had saved himself from the empty fortress he had built around his own heart. He learned that true influence isn't measured in stock prices or acquisitions, but in the positive impact you have on another's life. Lila had arrived at his door seeking refuge from a storm, and in the end, she had guided him out of his own. His greatest investment turned out to be not in a company, but in a simple act of compassion. Thanks for watching. If this story resonated with you, don't forget to like and subscribe for more.